So Doug and I were talking about for today's meeting, it's a safety thing. I mean, it was a terrible shot to have Anita Mew, I think that's how you pronounce her name, out of Century 21 Atria in Ontario, loss of life. And we don't know what happened, and I don't want to speculate on what happened, but it happened. And from my understanding, very, very successful individual, very professional, always had a driver except for this one day. I don't know if it's a scheduled day that she does it on her own, and something happened. So guys, in the email that you have, that's an attachment here, there's a whole bunch of best practices that we all should be focusing on. But I really think the main thing is don't be alone. If the person in your mind you think is a creep, they are a creep, right? And if you're in the office and the door is locked and it's after hours and someone knocks on the door and you don't like the look, then you talk to them through the door and you don't worry about letting them in. There's nothing that important, but there were some really good ideas there. Don't put yourself in a corner. Don't have your back to any of the customers. Let them lead the way. Let people know where you're going. And it's happened in this office a few times where some of the realtors, mostly the female, are getting weird text messages and emails, and so they reach out to me and Doug, and the first thing I do is I contact the person, and if I get them on the phone, I just politely introduce myself and just say, my realtor is very uncomfortable with you dialoguing with them. Please stop. And if they don't stop, then we send it to the police. There's a hotline there for us. We'll send it to the Vancouver Real Estate Board for a posting as well. Because a lot of these guys that are doing that kind of crap are doing it through a virtual text message system, so that it's untraceable. But eventually they're stupid, they'll get caught, they'll do something, and that's when the authorities that have that special software can do the tracking. But again, if you guys are being harassed by anybody, reach out to us and we'll put an end to it, right? Your safety is number one priority for us, and I take it extremely serious. And I hope you guys too. And to keep it locked in and not tell anybody is almost as bad as the action, because somebody else could get in trouble and you have the opportunity of stopping it. So saying that, does anybody have any other ideas that were not on that email that should be added to the email? Because we'll just keep building a list and having it in our blog and stuff like that, so it's very easy to pull up again. But does anybody have any suggestions that weren't mentioned?
Well, one thing I think you mentioned in the email there, Mike, but one thing is that especially the females, they tend to prey on you guys, and especially new realtors, saying they got $5 million, they're going to be in town for a week and they want to see somebody. So it's, of course, we're commission based. Everybody wants that. Oh, I'll be out there. Sure, no problem. Whatever you want. But one thing we highly recommend for everybody is that, your first meeting ought to be in the office or in an office. You can call the Century 21 in Richmond, which we did, and to make an appointment with these people. So you're meeting within the office, and we need to do a fin track on these people and see their ID. So you want to make sure they're legitimate people and buyers, hopefully, going forward. So don't meet them in a public place. Don't meet with them wherever. Like I say, have them come to our office. Mike or somebody else myself will be in the office. Make sure we're there for you, and we're sitting in the next room, and then you can ask for the ID and get the information they want. So don't be afraid to say no. That's the big thing. They put that big carrot out there. They know that we work on commission. They know that we're all hungry for that deal. So but use a little caution, and like I always say with these kind of things, introduce them to the exclusive buyers agency agreement, get their ID, and you know, if they don't sign the exclusive buyer's agent agreement, that's fine, as long as you have that discussion with them. So, you know, do it in an environment that you're comfortable with. You know, and do bring them into the office, and it gives you a bit of an upper hand, and it shows your professionalism, you know, going forward. So, you know,
Yeah,
I'll please be aware of that.
and also your job is, in my opinion, is to know everybody that's coming into, if we're talking about open houses, into that open house. And if someone refuses to identify themselves to you, to me, it's a red flag, because you have an obligation to the sellers of that property to know what's going on. And if someone's just going to be that much of an idiot not to share who they are, then why welcome them into the house that they could potentially do something to, steal something from, or just waste your time? And if they ask you why, you say, well, it's my obligation to tell the seller who came in the home for security purposes. It's confidential information. It goes to me and the seller's agent, and that's plain and simple. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to meet those unaided buyers that aren't working with the realtor. And if they say they are working with the realtor, simply ask them, great, who? And if they say James Littman or Bob Smith or whoever, then you report to the listing agent, if you're doing an open house for somebody else, that this person came in and it was James's customer. That way the listing agent follows up with James, and you've done your duty and stuff like that. But the goal is to make sure that you know everybody that's coming in. The goal is to find buyers that aren't aided, to help sell that property. And if the buyer wants to look elsewhere, then that's your job, is to assure them that you're the professional that knows exactly how to help them find what it is that they're looking for, and give them a professional opinion on the goodness, on the good stuff and the bad stuff pertaining to that listing. So does anybody have any suggestions on how to get somebody's information? I walk into your open house and I see James. I'm picking on James because he's on the center of the screen here. And I say hi, and James, what's the first thing you do?
So I used to do this quite a bit, and I used to hire some people to do it with me, the open houses, and I would have them get people's identification before entering, and if they denied or if they wouldn't, I would actually refuse entry, and letting them know it's for security purposes and it's for the seller has requested it, but it's usually after discussion with the seller, and I may have it in the Schedule A as well.
Okay, that's great. That's a great idea, right? I mean, I haven't heard of that one before, but I like that one. Anybody else have any ideas on how to get information from somebody?
One better than that, James, is maybe don't put it on the Schedule A, have it a separate form that, you know, the seller requests, because you don't necessarily want to share your Schedule A with everybody, but you could post that online and say, you know,
Sure.
ID. So, but you know, just separate from the Schedule A, because like I say, that's your secret sauce. You have all your good stuff on there. You don't want to share that with anybody.
Anybody else have any ideas?
Usually when I receive a call, I'll ask them how did they get my contact, if they saw an online ad or they saw my contact on the social media. And if they got my contact from anywhere else, I want them to mention like where exactly. And then once I get their full name, I do a quick Google search, and like social platforms. If somebody has a LinkedIn, it's very valid, like the current job, current company. So that would be a very solid client. And everything else I can check online. I'll do it before meeting them.
That's, you know what, and I think that's one of the ones that we posted. People are Googling you guys to think if they're going to consider using you. So Google your customer, find them. If you can't find them online, you can't find them on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, that would be a red flag to me. Unless they're 80 years old and they don't know that stuff, right? But if they're in all of our demographics, they're going to have some sort of profile. And if they have a profile that just has one picture and that's it, it's still a red flag. It doesn't mean just because they've got a link in Facebook that they're a decent, honest person. So you got to do your homework. And while you're doing your homework, you might have find something of similar, something in common with you both that you can bring to the table to further enhance the relationship that you're trying to get into. Anybody else there? Tings comes from Winnipeg. She owns a mortgage brokerage company there, and she's a realtor here now. And so what about getting information from your customers, Ting, about how before you start processing files, what are the steps that you go through?
Oh yeah, we do all things. So we get all the information. So because we need those, right? Before we can pre-approve them. So we get their IDs for sure. Okay, so and then income confirmation documents. So, but that's an entirely different thing because it's mortgages, right?
Yeah.
So I think what will be applicable here is the IDs. And I'm not so sure if you do it here, or is it rude to ask if they're pre-approved or get their pre-approval letter, or I don't know, where is that applicable, in the open houses or in the request for showings? So yeah.
Okay. And
Well, I don't think you can do it for your open houses or request
Okay.
for showings, but if you're working with them as a buyer, absolutely, yeah. If you got a pre-approval, can I see a pre-approval letter? And guys, for FinTrack, you can ask for their ID online. If they send you a picture of their driver's license back and front, that goes in the file for FinTrack, and it's good. It's okay. You want to meet them as well, but you know, you can certainly ask them for your ID up front. So.
And I love what Ting said, she needs it. And so when they say why, you go, I need it. The seller needs to know who's coming in their house. And if they're gonna start building a relationship with you and you're gonna start showing them properties, before you show them properties, you need to get all their information. Because I can't show you properties if I don't know that you're qualified to buy this, because I have to explain it to the listing agent. I got a qualified buyer. You want to show your place Tuesday at 2:00 for an example. What is the worst? I guess not the worst. What's if I say to James, you buzzed me up, I'm in the condo, I want to look at it, and you ask me for my information, I go, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. What's your out clause? How do you get me out of the place? Yeah, the guns. Anyway, that's someone said you gotta have a, you have that 30-second pitch in the elevator that, to try to tell somebody about that you're a realtor and stuff. Do you have a 10-second pitch in the house, in the condo, of why they can't come in and be completely solid on it?
Okay, I'll just take a stab at this. No pun. You got to pick and choose your battles, obviously, and you'll get a feel for, when talking to the person, and you may just have to withdraw a little bit, take out your phone, text somebody, or do something, but you can usually talk your way through a situation after doing this long enough.
Okay. All right.
I've heard of one where the person came right at the end of the open house. It was a house, and it was a gal that was doing the open house. And the guy showed up right at the end, and she didn't have a good feeling about it. So what she did is she sent him in on his own. Said, okay, go have a look, and then he can come out, and she stayed outside. So I mean, it's your instinct as well, I mean,
For sure.
what will you do? What won't you do? If you get a bad feeling, guys, move away from it. Like James says, you don't want to start a confrontation. Walk outside and text somebody. Get yourself out of danger, but be careful you don't start that confrontation, because that could be more problems. So but you got to stand up for yourself too, and have somebody on call.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you gotta have a backup plan. You can carry mace. You can carry an emergency buzzer or alarm on your phone that you have it. These are just simple things that if you had 3 seconds to react on something, because you're in a potential physical situation, have that go to. I don't think it looks bad that to have mace in your purse or have mace in your pocket or mace on a keychain on your belt loop if it's allowed. And I know on my phone I have an emergency contact button. I can hit it, my alarm goes off on my phone. It's any little things that are going to make the other person uncomfortable and to make them want to leave, right? Noise is usually a great deterrent for all this. And that's one of the things they recommend is you scream like bloody hell if you've got someone that you think is putting you at harm's way, type of thing. Not so and there's no perfect way of doing it. This today is just to make everybody's eyes open that we're professionals, we have a service to do to our sellers and our buyers, and we have obviously an obligation to keep ourselves protected and our fellow professionals protected. So you want to have your buddy system going. Does anybody else have any other questions pertaining to this topic that I hate, but it has to be talked about?
The other thing, I think would be a good idea to let the others know where you're going if you have an open house or you're going to showing, so your colleagues or your families that they know where you're going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and I don't know in the case in Ontario if that actually happened. We haven't seen a lot of reports, and I'm sure it's going to take a while to get that out, but always let somebody know, right? And in my family, we have on our phones, we all know where we are because the phone never leaves us. So I can see where my kids are and they can see where I am too and stuff like that. So if we're finished with that topic, let's go on to something more positive if I can. Or does anybody else have anything they want to say?
Can you share that emergency thing that goes, that it has a noise? I don't know, the one that you're using?
Yeah, I'll show you the link on the alarm for my iPhone.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug, do you have any topics you want to go on before we talk about listings and sales?
No, I'm just kind of, we're kind of coming towards the end of the summer here, just kind of tidying up. I got a bunch of compliance stuff maybe later on to talk a little bit about, but
okay, so yeah, last week of summer, kids are going back to school. My oldest boy Cole goes back to his university. We take him up on Sunday. So you might get some traffic at open houses. You never know unless you try. It only takes the one person to do it. So on new listings in this room, does anybody have a listing price reduction or just talk about their listing that they want to table to the group that's here? We got a good group on. Anybody want to talk about any sales that they've had this last couple weeks that they want to talk about what the price was and how they got it to what it was, or was it in competing? Wow.
Well, I can, sorry, I'm just looking for my thumbs up thing, but I can't find it. I do have a new listing coming up. I may hold off until after the long weekend though, but I'll just put it out to the group if anyone, has a buyer that's interested. It's a 2-story loft at 1238 Richards. It's about 822 square feet. It's just been renovated, fully painted, so on. It will be at on the higher end at 975. And I'll have open houses shortly after that.
What's it list for?
975. It's about 822 square feet. Like I said, it is high, but it's very cool. The views are fabulous, facing direct east, 2-story windows. It's very cool.
Nice. And is it rentable?
Absolutely.
What would you get for rent roughly?
Well, for that one, gosh, 38 to 42. You could do it furnished. There's some furnished for, I think, 6,000. That particular one.
Okay. Now here's the $1 million question. How'd you get the listing?
Well, I live in the building,
Okay.
and that'll be my 15th listing.
Good. So guys, if you live in the strata complex, own the tower. Don't be the best kept secret in there. And so
Yeah.
how did you meet that person? Or are you just doing on the building?
Just talking, just making sure people knew what I did for a living, because there was 5 other realtors at the time in the building. I'm the only one that's listed in that building, and just making sure everyone knew what I did. And they just saw me and they watched me. They are interviewing you nonstop. So they liked what I did, and I just started getting phone calls. And plus, I
tell you what,
approached
I
them.
probably said this to you guys before, but we had a realtor in this office who's since retired, John McCabe, and he used to live at 488 Humpkin Street, and he owned that building. He did all the realtors from other offices wouldn't market that building because he was so well known and liked. He sat on the strata and stuff. And then when he moved, he went down to Marina side. He was still untouchable of the building. And then we had a guy, Stan Mortison, and Stan was a charm. He's an older guy. He's retired. He was like one of those old cronies from the Muppets that sat up in the theater, and he would just torture you with slapstick. And he used to host Christmas parties in different buildings that he used to live in, and people still thought he lived there because the strata allowed him to host a Christmas party for the buildings. And I don't know if you can still do that, but there's creative ways. There's creative ways to get customers that are, they're contained. They live in a tower, and there's only one door out, basically, if you want to use that simple analogy. And if you get your face in there and spread the word that you're the service provider, that'd be great. Anybody else want to talk about a listing that they got that's active? Viviana, you've got the one on Seymour that you talked about. How did you get that listing? She muted? Okay, she's probably stepped away. All right. How about anybody got any sales over the last few weeks that they want to talk about, whether it's pre-sale or retail?
I think Gavin had one. Why don't you tell us about your deal there, Gavin?
Yeah, like subject removal tomorrow. So I'm hoping that I get the basket of information from it. And then I'm still talking to the listing agent, trying to get that strata package so that we will be able to review them before subject removal.
You haven't got your strata package yet?
Without giving out the secrets, how'd you find your buyer?
It's actually past clients referral. Yeah. So like we've been working for 6 months. We're looking, and then it was basically they're happy with the service that they receive, so they refer another client to me, and then this client is also referring another client to me. So just
okay. So here's so the one that you're in a transaction with now, they're also referring somebody to you as well, which is really key, guys. When you're starting to talk business with a seller or a buyer, start asking them then, who else do they know that could be interested in your services, because they are talking to everybody. Don't do it. Don't wait to the end. And then, Gavin, now that they've introduced you to somebody else, you should send them something, cookies to their office, flowers to their office, something simple to just say a thank you in a public place. Don't send it to their home because only they see it. But if you know where they work, send it to the front desk, because everybody's going to say, oh, who gave us the box of cookies, or who gave the lovely flowers? And then it's Gavin, my realtor did. And then everybody goes, well, my realtor never does that. Right. So get into that habit. Okay. Please get into that habit. You'll get rewarded tenfold. Anybody else got a sale transaction that they want to talk about?
I just a buyer. I just had a deal in Gastown, and it closes this weekend, or this Thursday and Friday. And what was interesting, the buyer, it's someone I met quite a few years ago, and she reached out to me, and I asked her, point blank, why she reached out to me. And so she remembered, she liked me, but it was based a lot of my reviews that she read,
Right?
client reviews, which
Yeah.
that was the first time I've heard that. I thought that was very cool.
So
Thank God
guys,
they weren't shitty.
yeah, well, you know what? When I travel, I look for the reviews and I look at the shitty ones first because I look at seeing how the host replies. Right? We have reviews on our Google and we got some terrible reviews, but they're with people that never worked with us.
Right.
So when you read that, then you understand the interaction and how observant the host is or the service provider is about their business. And so on that note, thanks James for that. Anytime you do a transaction on your transaction record sheet, put your customer's email address down, and Angel sends out a review, what's it called? Tree something, I forget. And
Testimonial tree.
what's that?
Testimonial tree.
Testimonial tree. Thank you, Angelique. And we ask them for a review. They get it. We promote it. We give it to you. You guys promote it and allow us to keep doing it because we won't stop. If you just do it yourselves, chances are you're going to stop when you get to a certain number that you think are good. And I've said this to everybody, if I've got Gavin and his doppelganger there and Gavin stops at 10 and the doppelganger has 36, I go to the 36 all day for the service provider. So please do that. Anybody else have any buyer success stories they want to talk about of recent?
No, but I have a question. I am looking for a commercial office to buy in the North Shore, possibly. And I'm talking about 10,000 square feet. Anybody know?
What's the purpose?
It's to open an office, a trading office.
A trading office. So we're like a retail store?
No. It doesn't need to be retail. It can be at any level. It's a company that deals with stock trading.
Oh, so just a standard business.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
if-
I'll do some homework on who you should talk to.
Mhm.
And is it anywhere in North Vancouver or West Vancouver?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter as long as it's in the North Shore. And well, if it's closer, probably to either highway or bridge or something that, I mean, where it can be reached easily without having to.
So close to like transit. Okay. All right. Yeah.
There's always a problem with traffic, and that's the thing.
Yeah, there's some sites I can direct you to as well to take a look at that. All right. Anybody else have any needs and wants? Going once, going twice. Pretty serious topic we chatted about today, guys. But I think it's something Angel and Angeli, maybe we should talk about this once a quarter, right? Just as friendly reminders to watch our backs type of thing. So if you can put that in our calendar, that would be fantastic. I don't have anything else to report. It's the market is getting a little bit better from what I'm talking to with other agents in different areas. Everybody seems to get the traffic's going. The numbers aren't ticking yet, but I got a feeling this September when the Bank of Canada comes and wants to give its reasoning for increasing or lowering rates, I think it's going to go down. And I think there's a few more as long as we can keep our prices steady. And who knows, politics are politics, but it'd be nice to see a couple more basis points go down, at least another 50, because it came up so fast. Rates are still low, but it came up so fast for those that already were locked in and stuff. So hopefully that pain on renewals will subside a little bit more because that's a concern for everybody. So on that note, Doug, I will chat with you later, and thanks guys for your time. Stay safe, be good, and get some business out there and do some opens.